how was the Indonesia inflation for throughout the 2024 as we have today?
So actually, as you mentioned just now, that inflation year on year is 1.57%. And then this inflation is quite manageable if you compare to inflation several weeks ago. Several years ago. So if you look at the main contributor to inflation this year, there is like five top commodities that is contributed to this year inflation. One is jewelry gold because of the gold prices in the global market is keep increasing, and this is influenced to the price of jewelry gold. And secondly is cigarettes, and the third is cooking oil, the fourth is rice, and the fifth is coffee powder. And this is also one of the reason why coffee powder is contributed to our inflation due to the price of coffee in global market is also increasing.
All right, so you mentioned there are five things, the jewelry, gold, and then coffee and cigarettes and several others. Now, how
The
is
top five
the
commodities.
top five?
If
Now,
you would like to include the other commodities, and also we can mention onion, fresh fish, chicken, garlic, and also rice with the ingredients.
all right, so now is the inflation in Indonesia in line with the global inflation, especially in commodity? You mentioned earlier gold impacting the price for the jewelry. How about other commodities?
Like coffee, because the price of coffee in global market is also increasing, and this is one of the reason because of uh, the limited production in some of countries as a coffee producers. And the other one, onion because of the rainy season affecting the number of onion production in Indonesia.
Right. How does the 2024 inflation rate compare to previous year that we had for inflation?
So compared to the previous year, I think this inflation is quite okay if you look at the 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 target inflation target that is actually being mentioned and being targeted by the Bank of Indonesia and the government. And our inflation target this year is around 1.5 to 3.5%. And of course, 1.57 is actually within the target, within the inflation target targeted by the Bank of Indonesia and also by the government. So I think this is quite a good achievement for Indonesia, that Indonesia can manage inflation in the midst of global uncertainty and geopolitical condition, and 1.57% inflation rate is quite a good achievement for Indonesia.
Well, talking about the government, how's the government fiscal policy, such as subsidies or tax adjustment, influence the inflation throughout the 2024?
So tax adjustment, because we are actually measuring the inflation throughout the 2024, meaning that from January to December 2024, the tax adjustment will be effective in January 2025. We can see later on whether this will affect inflation rate when we are announcing the inflation rate next month.
Now, what are the implications of inflation of household purchasing power and the poverty levels?
If because of inflation of Indonesia, inflation 1.57 is quite low enough, and I think it is a good condition for household purchasing power, and we cannot say that this will reduce the household purchasing power because of high inflation. Inflation 1.57 is a good condition for people, and also again I would like to say this inflation rate is within that that is announced by the government and the Bank of Indonesia. When you're saying that whether these create implication of household purchasing power and poverty level, and I don't think that this will increase poverty level and poverty level is still uh, we already announced the poverty level in July 2024 that our poverty level is 9.03% uh, during our survey in March 2024. Let's see the result of our next uh, poverty rate after our survey in September 2024. We'll be announcing our poverty rate in February next month.
On February, noted. Now,
Yeah.
in the US, they're always going for the number of 2% for their inflation. Now, in Indonesia, is there a number, like a number that we're trying to avoid, or the number that we're trying to reach on the inflation rate?
So the government always announced the inflation target, yearly inflation target, right? And then, as we know that in 2024, and as I mentioned several times just now, that we have the inflation target 2.5 plus minus 1, meaning that within the range of 1.5 to 3.5. And then in the medium term, the government is really trying to achieve within 1% to 3% inflation target within the medium term. So I think that will be around 2% plus minus one. It's like the U.S. inflation rate that will be achieved by the U.S. as well.
All right, Bu Amalia, thank you so much for sharing your insight with us here on See Today. I hope I see you again here on next time for the report from BPS.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. That was Ibu Amalia Adininggar, Acting Chief of Statistics Indonesia or BPS Indonesia. Let's take a break with that. See Today Business. We'll be back with more news. Stay tuned.